Imagine building a thriving $100,000 a year business. You're pouring your heart into your products, and you're finally getting real traction.
Right, which is the dream for any creator.
Exactly. But then your reward for hitting that milestone is a mandatory lifetime penalty fee.
Yeah, it really does sound totally absurd when you put it like that.
Right. It's like, well, it's like a landlord raising your rent simply because you got a promotion at your day job. You're literally penalized for succeeding.
Which is incredibly frustrating.
So frustrating. But today, we are untangling this massive, highly detailed playbook that reveals this is exactly the dynamic that millions of successful online sellers find themselves in. So welcome back to another deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today's mission for you, the learner, is figuring out when, why, and exactly how an online seller should transition from Etsy to Shopify.
And it's a transition that requires a complete paradigm shift, honestly, because we aren't just talking about changing the software you use to sell.
Right, it's bigger than that.
Exactly. We are looking at a fundamental shift in business models. To really grasp the strategy here, we have to recognize that Etsy and Shopify aren't actually direct competitors.
Wait, really? Because I feel like people always pit them against each other.
Oh, for sure they do. But they exist on entirely different layers of the e-commerce ecosystem. You see, Etsy is a marketplace. Its primary product is actually traffic.
Ah, okay, so they sell the audience.
Yes, it sells you access to buyers who are already searching for things. Shopify, on the other hand, is storefront infrastructure. It sells you the blank canvas software to host your own independent business.
That makes total sense. So our goal today is to help you figure out exactly where you sit on that continuum, right? And how to build a bridge between the two without losing your shirt.
Precisely. And to understand why successful sellers eventually look to build that bridge, we really have to start with the catalyst for leaving, which is the compounding fee stack.
Yes, the fees. Because when you just look at the headline numbers for Etsy, they seem, totally reasonable.
Right, at first glance.
But there is a massive difference between the stated fee and the effective take rate once you actually run the math.
Yeah, let's break down like a standard $50 order. On Etsy, the foundational fees are a 6.5% transaction fee plus a 20-cent listing fee.
Okay, simple enough.
Right. But then you have payment processing, which generally runs roughly 3% plus 25 cents.
So it starts to add up.
Exactly. When you stack just those basic elements together, your effective take rate is already sitting around 10 to 11%.
Which, I mean, isn't terrible for getting access to a huge market?
No, it's not. But that is just the baseline. The real friction starts when we look at how the platform's mechanics aggressively penalize a seller as they scale.
Right. And this brings us to what feels like a total trap. It's all centered around Etsy's offsite ads program, isn't it?
Yeah, the infamous offsite ads.
So if your shop is making under $10,000 in a trailing 365-day period, Etsy takes a 15% cut on any sales that come from those ads. But you have control there, right? Like, you can just opt out if you want to.
Right, you can. But the moment you cross that $10,000 threshold, everything completely changes. It essentially becomes a permanent brand tattoo.
Oh, wow. A permanent tattoo.
Yeah. Once you cross $10,000 in trailing annual gross merchandise value, or GMV, the ad fee drops slightly to 12%, but it becomes completely mandatory.
Wait, mandatory? Like forever?
Forever. The opt-out toggle literally disappears. Even if your sales dip back down to, say, $5,000 the following year, you are locked into that mandatory tier for the lifetime of your shop.
That is wild. So if a buyer purchases that $50 item through an offsite ad,
Your total stacked fees shoot up to an astonishing 22.4%.
22.4%, nearly a quarter of your top line revenue is just gone before you've even bought the raw materials or paid for shipping.
Yep, that's the reality.
You are quite literally penalized for succeeding. And I guess that really highlights the Shopify breaking point we found in the sources.
Exactly. Because when you run the numbers, Shopify's flat monthly rate, which is about $39 for their basic plan, plus 2.9% and 30 cents per transaction, it becomes mathematically vastly superior once a seller hits roughly $30,000 to $60,000 in annual GMV.
Because the underlying mechanism is totally different.
Right. Etsy uses those high fees to fund their own corporate Google and Meta ad spend. They are driving traffic back to their marketplace.
Which makes Etsy an incredible incubator for your very first sale, right? When you have zero audience, giving up 20% to acquire a customer is actually a bargain.
Oh, absolutely. Below $10,000 in GNV, Shopify's flat $39 monthly fee will just eat up any per-order savings you might have had.
Makes sense.
But beyond that $30,000 to $60,000 break-even, every incremental dollar you earn on Shopify becomes more profitable because that monthly subscription is amortized over a much larger volume of sales.
I hear you on the math, but let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Sure, go for it.
If you are a ceramicist, right, or maybe you curate mid-century vintage clothing,
Yeah,
your passion is making and sourcing beautiful things.
right.
You aren't necessarily dreaming of managing email segmentations and running a customer relationship management system.
Definitely not.
So if lower fees are the push out the door, is managing an email list really worth the headache of building and running an entirely separate website?
It's a very common hesitation,
Mm,
but it completely misses the hidden cost of the marketplace model.
right.
Because on Etsy, you do not own the customer.
Right. Etsy owns the customer.
Exactly. They control the search algorithm, the messaging, and the entire post-purchase email journey. Sellers cannot export buyer emails to run win-back campaigns.
Which is huge.
It is. By operating entirely within those walls, you're effectively leaving 30 to 60% of a customer's lifetime value, their LTV, just sitting on the table.
Wow. 30 to 60%.
Without an email list, every single customer you get on Etsy is essentially a one-shot sale. You are basically starting at zero every single morning.
Ah, so you're never actually building momentum. You're just renting a stall every day.
Exactly. And consider the product page itself. Like on Shopify, you send a past buyer a direct link to a new product, and it's just your product on the screen.
Right. No distractions.
But on Etsy, right underneath your beautifully crafted ceramic mug is a "you may also like" carousel featuring 10 cheaper competing mugs from other sellers.
Oh, I hate that.
Right. The platform actively uses your hard-earned traffic to pitch your competitors if it thinks it will secure a conversion.
That is brutal.
It is. Customer ownership is what shifts your business from a grueling, expensive cycle of constant acquisition to a high-margin game of retention.
That completely changes how I view a product page. I mean, they are using your listing as a billboard for other people's stuff.
Pretty much.
So if leaving is so hard because of the traffic and staying is so expensive because of the fees and that lost LTV, what is the middle ground, it feels like sellers are paralyzed by a false choice here.
It is a false choice because for about 80% of sellers, those sitting in that $10,000 to $250,000 GMV sweet spot, the ultimate strategy is not to migrate and shut down your Etsy shop.
Oh, really? So don't burn the boats.
No, don't burn them. The goal is to go hybrid. You utilize a background API tool called Shopify Marketplace Connect.
Okay, what does that do?
It seamlessly syncs your inventory bidirectionally. So if you sell a one-of-a-kind vintage jacket on Shopify, the quantity instantly drops to zero on Etsy and vice versa.
Oh, that's brilliant. So you don't have to manually double key data or worry about accidentally double selling unique items?
Exactly. It removes the operational headache.
It's like moving from a booth at a busy farmer's market to opening a standalone boutique on a quiet side street.
I love that analogy.
Yeah. At the farmer's market, which is Etsy, you gladly pay high stall fees because thousands of people are guaranteed to walk by. But you use that booth to hand out flyers to your new boutique, which is Shopify, where the rent is cheaper, and you keep all the profits from your regulars. But how do you actually hand out those flyers? Like, practically speaking, how do you bridge the two platforms?
The bridge is actually remarkably analog. You use a physical packaging insert.
Like a literal piece of paper?
Yes, you design a beautiful branded card with a QR code and a discount offer, and you place it right inside the box of every single Etsy order.
Oh, nice.
When the customer unboxes that item and loves it, the QR code drives them directly to your Shopify store for their next purchase.
That is so simple but so effective.
It really is. Over a 12-month period, a healthy hybrid revenue mix typically stabilizes around 38% direct Shopify sales and 28% Etsy organic search, with the rest distributed across other channels.
Okay, so if the hybrid model is the holy grail, why isn't everyone doing it? Because I have to imagine Etsy knows this is a threat. They must have built a pretty massive moat around your data to stop you from leaving.
Oh, they definitely have. This exposes the ugly truth about platform lock-in. Platforms deliberately build walled gardens to maintain leverage over the seller.
Right. Make it painful to leave.
Exactly. When you attempt to migrate your data, you quickly discover what Etsy considers their proprietary assets versus yours.
So what actually transfers?
Well, moving active listings, SKUs, and inventory quantities is relatively painless via a CSV spreadsheet. But
Yeah.
the visual assets are a completely different story.
Oh, the photos.
Yeah. Etsy doesn't easily export image URLs, meaning your product photos usually have to be manually downloaded one by one, or you have to scrape them using third-party apps.
That sounds incredibly tedious.
It is, but it gets worse. Let's talk about 301 redirects, because this part is devastating.
Oh, right. Because if a massive lifestyle blog linked to your specific Etsy bowl like 3 years ago and it still drives traffic today,
Yeah.
you can't redirect it.
Nope. You cannot tell the internet to automatically forward that traffic to your new Shopify link. Etsy doesn't allow 301 redirects.
So those links just become dead ends.
Yep, dead ends.
Mhm.
And worst of all, your customer reviews cannot be ported over.
Oof. That hurts.
It's the biggest psychological hurdle.
Yeah.
Losing years of hard-earned 5-star social proof feels like a monumental step backward.
Honestly, isn't that enough reason to just stay entirely in Etsy's ecosystem? I mean, they have their own custom website builder called Pattern. Why not just use that and keep all your reviews?
I get why people think that. Pattern looks like an easy escape hatch,
Yeah.
but it's really a trap for a scaling brand.
Really? How so?
It's essentially just a different rented room in the exact same building. Under the hood, Pattern has no app store, it has highly limited search engine optimization capabilities, and no robust email marketing tools.
So you're still stuck.
Right, if you want to grow, it's a dead end. Yes, losing reviews hurts, but there's a clear mechanism to recover.
Okay, what's the playbook for that?
You can rebuild a baseline of 50-plus reviews on your Shopify store within your first 60 days.
Wow, 50 in 60 days.
By using automated post-purchase apps like Judge.me, you just set up an automated email that goes out 14 days after delivery, incentivizing your new Shopify buyers to leave photos and reviews.
So you just aggressively incentivize the new traffic.
Exactly. The short-term pain of starting with a blank slate is entirely worth the 10x long-term brand ceiling that true independence provides.
Okay, so we've moved the data, we've accepted the loss of the old reviews, and we've set up shop. But when you leave Etsy, you leave behind all their built-in systems, right? Like their review collection, their shipping discounts, literally everything.
Everything.
So you have to plug in those missing pieces yourself. You have to build what the playbook calls your lean stack.
And it is incredibly easy to get overwhelmed here because the Shopify App Store has over 12,000 apps.
Oh my gosh, 12,000.
Yeah, it's a lot. The golden rule is to keep your app costs under $100 a month for your first 6 months.
Okay, keep it lean.
You group them conceptually based on what you lost from Etsy. So a standard lean stack looks like this.
Whoa.
You have the Shopify Basic plan at $39. Then Klaviyo to replace Etsy's customer communication, which is actually free for your first 250 contacts.
Nice. Free is good.
Then an app like Judge.me for $15 to rebuild those reviews. And you just use the built-in Shopify shipping. You have to fiercely resist the urge to install 15 shiny, redundant apps on day one.
I can see how people get distracted by all the bells and whistles, but beyond just the software, there's a massive legal and operational shift here too, isn't there?
Huge shift. On Shopify, you are no longer hiding behind a marketplace facilitator. You are the legal seller of record.
Meaning you're legally on the hook.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You need to establish an LLC, get a free employee identification number from the IRS, and you are entirely responsible for tracking your own sales tax economic nexus.
Okay, that nexus thing, that is a critical mechanism people overlook. Usually it gets triggered once you hit $100,000 in sales or 200 individual transactions in a specific state, right?
Right.
Wait, just to clarify, does that mean if I'm operating out of, say, Ohio, but I sell 200 mugs to buyers in Texas, I am suddenly legally obligated to register and remit taxes in Texas?
Yes, exactly. The legal burden shifts entirely to you. Plus, you now dictate your own return policies, and you handle the chargeback risks natively via Stripe or Shopify payments.
Wow.
You are the CEO now.
That is a terrifying legal shift for a solo crafter. Like going from riding a bike with training wheels to driving a manual transmission car on the highway. How do you not just completely crash your business in the first 90 days of dealing with all that?
By managing the risk through gradual transition,
Yeah.
you never, ever try to switch everything over in a single weekend.
Oh, thank goodness.
You run both platforms in parallel for at least 6 months. And crucially, you use the 80-20 rule. You only migrate your top 20% of SKUs first. The the core products that drive 80% of your revenue.
That makes it so much more manageable.
It does. You test the inventory sync, you get comfortable with the tax-compliant software, and you only migrate the long-tail catalog when the foundation is rock solid.
Okay, so the foundation is solid, the legal stuff is handled, the top SKUs are live, but your standalone boutique is just sitting on that quiet side street we talked about.
Right.
You don't have millions of people organically searching your site anymore. So where did the buyers actually come from? We have to talk about the blended CAC reality.
Yes, blended CAC.
Now, we are using terms like customer acquisition cost or SANCAC, which might sound like Wall Street corporate jargon to a ceramicist. But all this really means is, how much money does it cost you to find one new fan of your art?
Exactly. On Etsy, SEO drives 60 to 90% of sales inherently. You optimize your tags, and the algorithm just delivers the buyers.
It's passive.
Very passive.
Okay.
On Shopify, you have to actively become a marketer. And the realistic benchmarks here can be a serious shock.
What are we looking at?
Well, running meta ads on Facebook and Instagram typically costs $25 to $50 to acquire a single customer.
Ouch. $50. If you are selling lower-priced handmade goods with a $30 average order value, a $50 CAC means you are losing $20 every time you make a sale.
Right. It will bankrupt you.
So on Etsy, your CAC is essentially just that hidden fee taken out at the register only when you actually make a sale.
Yep.
But on Shopify, it is a proactive budget you have to spend up front with absolutely no guarantee that anyone will actually buy. That sounds incredibly risky.
It is risky if you only rely on Meta, but there's a hidden gem for these specific categories. Pinterest.
Ah, Pinterest.
Pinterest operates on a completely different mechanism than Meta. Meta is an interruptive social feed, right? But Pinterest is a high-intent visual search engine.
That makes sense. People go there to look for things.
Exactly. They go there specifically to plan purchases and curate aesthetics. So whether it's through organic pins or paid ads, the acquisition cost on Pinterest generally sits between $8 and $20.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
It is. It massively outperforms Meta for handmade, vintage, and home decor categories.
And this brings us to the actual math of how you survive, what the sources call the handmade core beast trick. You don't just look at one platform, you look at your blended CAC. If a meta ad costs you $40 to acquire a customer, that looks like a failure on paper.
Right.
But if you also get a customer for free from a viral TikTok video, and you acquire another one for $15 on Pinterest, and then a past buyer makes a repeat purchase for $0 through a Klaviyo email.
You average all of that out.
Right. Suddenly, your blended cost to acquire a customer drops to a highly profitable $18.
That is the CEO mindset in action. You are no longer managing a single platform profile. You are managing a diversified portfolio of acquisition channels.
I love that.
You let the highly profitable email channels subsidize the more expensive top-of-funnel ad channels.
That portfolio approach completely reframes the whole endeavor. It takes the pressure off any single piece of marketing.
It really does.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, the overarching lesson here is that graduating from a marketplace doesn't mean you have to burn the bridge behind you.
Definitely not.
It means utilizing that hybrid model. Let Etsy continue to do what it does best, which is top-of-funnel discovery, while Shopify serves as the engine to build your actual ownable asset, your customer list.
Exactly.
For you listening, evaluate your own numbers today. Are you under 10,000? Then just focus on your marketplace SEO. But are you in that 10 to 250,000 sweet spot? Then it's time to start planning your hybrid strategy and capturing those emails.
And, if we look beyond just the tactical migration steps we've covered,
Yeah.
this entire transition raises a much broader question about the future of independent commerce.
Yeah. Like what?
Well, we often assume the ultimate survival skill for a creator is just making an incredible, unique product. But what if survival actually depends entirely on mastering the tension between algorithm-driven rented land and community-driven owned platforms?
That is fascinating.
Right. In a world where marketplace algorithms change daily and social media ad costs can skyrocket overnight, a direct, unfiltered connection to your buyer like an email address might be the only true currency we have left.
That is a phenomenal question to sit with. Are you going to endlessly renovate that fully furnished rented apartment? Or are you finally ready to buy the plot of land and build a house that nobody can ever kick you out of? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you on the next one.